Peace and welcome to the culture right here on the Black Star Network. I'm your host, Farajii November. Thank you so much for tuning in and being a part of the conversations. Folks, we got a lot to get to. We're 4 days out for the national midterm elections. Let's start off the conversation with something that we need to keep in mind. Black votes do matter. That's right, folks. Black votes do matter. We'll talk about where we stand with black folks who don't, some of the latest data around black folks in the midterm elections. We'll have that conversation. Also, President Trump is looking to announce his bid after the midterms. They're talking about a deadline of no later than November 14th. You say his bid for what? President of the United States. Yeah, we'll have that conversation. Also, can we talk about black and brown entrepreneurs and the support that they need to have as we check in with one organization that's doing their work to make sure that black and brown entrepreneurs are seen, heard, and supported? We'll have that conversation. And then later on, Black Men Heal, how we can continue the conversations, and most importantly, what can we do to bring life-affirming activities into the lives of black men and women to make sure that we definitely see that black men will grow old. We'll have that conversation. So stay with us. All of that and a whole lot more. And of course, your participation. So stay with us. It's the culture here on the Black Star Network. We'll be right back. All right, folks, welcome to the show. I'm your host, Farajii November. Thank you so much for checking in this afternoon and for seeing what we have to offer in these big conversations as we are just working our way up to the national midterm elections on Tuesday. And all week we've been talking about various elements of black folks going out to the polls, black folks getting in civically engaged and all of that. So we want to jump right into that conversation, continuing that discussion as we look at what have been some of the past numbers of black people when it comes to black voters, when it comes to the midterm elections. And I could not go further along in this conversation without having my brother Rashad with me, who is a nonprofit leader, who is an activist and advocate. He's a father as well. And I'm so happy to have him joining us on Fridays to give us a little something to think about before we head into the weekend. My guy, Rashad, how are you, sir?
Peace and blessings, everyone. Farajii, how you doing, good brother? Happy Friday.
Man. Happy Friday.
Happy holidays, as I say, man. You better celebrate them. Gotta celebrate them, bro.
Bro, I'll be crawling to Fridays. Crawling.
Look, I'll be wanting to go to sleep so I can wake up on a Friday.
I'm crawling to Friday. Hey, Rashad, I feel you the same way, brother. Hey, it's always good to talk to you. Always good to talk to you. All right, look, let's start off this conversation and let's put it exactly where the goats can get it. Black votes do matter. And Rashad, we can say it till the cows come home, but I want folks to understand black votes do matter. Yes, how big of this? How important is this point, Rashad? Why is this so important that we do not forget it now, Tuesday, or even moving forward? Why is this so important, bro?
One, I want to say one is like election season is probably one of my favorite seasons of the year. I get more excited about this than NBA and NFL seasons, right? Because this is the big game that we should all be paying attention to. We should know the votes and the stats of our elected officials like we know the votes and the stats of our favorite athlete. And until we get that level of understanding and how crucial and critical it is to be politically astute to those that we have elected to lead in our governance and our daily operations, then us as a people will not see the change that we want to see until we actually input ourselves to be a part of this game. It's critical, bro. I think every year it's that reoccurring thing. We always say, get out the vote. Black votes matter. And black votes has always mattered to the point that we have been castrated, lynched, suppressed, and they have created policies all the way up into 2022 of yesterday to make sure that the Black people don't exercise the vote that we have to make this country greater, in aligning to what we see as our political interests and what we need as a community and what we need as a people. It matters because this year, like any other years, we are seeing a shift in the pendulum. We're seeing a shift in social awareness, the psychology, the makeup, the diversity of demographics, the ageism. We're seeing an emergence of old gatekeepers and new thought leaders that are trying to find a way to find some balance in this new world of old
Right.
age thinking with new technology. And it seems to be a everlasting clash. And then the mediators is often these puppeteers, elected officials, that they have put in place to pacify the Black vote because of skin association rather than what we see in our own particular minds and our priorities and like attainment. And this is more crucial with like on any other, because in many states, there's plenty of different elected officials. When you look at just the crayon box of folks, right, and you're looking at their quick stats and their quick stat sheets, you would think that there is candidates that fit all types of folks without us understanding that some of these candidates have been purposely put in place just to be scapegoats, placeholders, and to stop the progression of what we've been advocating for the last 4 years, but most certainly for the last 2 years since we experienced and learned how to navigate through a global pandemic. This is much more. If we want to see the world go in a direction that I think our ancestors and leaders before have been working so diligently for, put themselves on the line and have caused a lot of space of unwarranted modernism, that we now must do our part, and that's showing up to vote. And that's showing up to vote with some knowledge and understanding of who are those candidates that are on our polling tickets. It's no more checking the names because of familiarity. It's no more checking the names because of the color of your skin. It's now making certain that their track records, their intentions and their characters are lining up to our own specified interests.
Come on, bro. Come on, bro. Rashad, my God, that's why you a part of this coveted crew called the Culture Crew, man, because you know how to break it down. Look, that's absolutely it. That is absolutely it. And this is why I wanted us to start off the discussion, because I wanted us to go into the weekend to understand that come Monday, we need to, by Monday, all of us should be in a mindset, okay, I'm going to go ahead and cast this ballot on Tuesday, but then more importantly, I'm going to recommit. I'm going to get myself into a good mindset. I'm going to get myself into a position where I'm going to make my vote a reality. It is absolutely critical and pivotal. Here's what we're looking at, folks. This is coming from the Griot. Take a look at some of these numbers around Black folks and Black voters during the midterm. In the 2018 midterm election, 57.5% of eligible whites voted, but only 51.4% of eligible Blacks cast ballots. This was according to the Pew Research Center reported. Turnout rose in 2020 because it was a presidential election year, but the Black-white voting gap grew. While 70%, nearly 71% of eligible whites cast ballots, only 0.6% of eligible Blacks voted. This voting gap can become a self-inflicted wound that helps all Black people because it makes harder to elect candidates committed to fighting for racial justice, reproductive rights, affordable housing, education, small business creation, and other goals most Black Americans support. So this is what the writer brings out, and I'm glad that, and I want us to look at this situation, Rashad, that these numbers that the Pew Research Center put out. Take a look at here, folks. Black votes do matter if we vote. If we vote. And this is the thing. If we vote, we'll start to see something. But here, I'm so glad that the author of this piece um, brought to some attention to the other element of this. We can't even talk about a certain candidate if we're not even coming out to vote. Now, if we're talking about putting a candidate that's more closer aligned to our interests and to our values, they still need to be voted in. They would still need to have the maximum support of us in order to get through, because numerically, we are still not. Even if we put a strong showing, we would, because we are a minority in the country, or minority in some places, we would still need to get some additional support from other communities. And so this is the type of thing that we understand. Like, if we understand the importance of going out to vote, to cast the ballot, and then understanding that, look, getting people into the habit of voting for their own interests, Rashad, so people can say, you know what, yeah, I did something, I did help a little bit. It's not going to break your neck to cast a vote. Right. It doesn't hurt anything, in the sense of, yes, you might spend some time there, depending on where you go, right? Might spend an hour, maybe 2 hours. Hopefully you don't spend 8 hours in line. But at the end of the day, it doesn't require much sacrifice except for your time.
Yep, I agree. And that's the selfless leadership that we have to have individually as a people, right? To take that mantle of influence and power and say, my singular vote actually makes a difference when it's a part of a collective movement and thinking, right? My singular vote helps make a difference when it comes to us influencing the masses and us coming together. And like you said, I'm glad that the article brought up those data points, and the level of uncertainty that I have towards that data is the fact that it's only comparing itself to white voters, as though whiteness is the standard or the baseline of operating effectively in civic engagement. That 51% and that 60% shows that Black voters are continuously engaged and are participatory in the electoral cycle. But the reality is, in how do we continuously be engaged throughout the years? Like you said, Farajii, if we want to make sure these years we are working around reproductive rights, voting rights, and having those rights protected on the local and the state level, we as a people must be mindful of, like how you said, these numerical decisions of candidacies influence the top down and bottom approach of how we interact with our daily livelihoods, right? We need to make sure that we have representatives in the governors, as far as our governors. We need to make sure that we have these judiciary elected judges and things and that sort, that's going to push legislation in the justice system and pushing towards criminal justice reform, right? That is not always the big ticket, which is the president, but it is down to the state and local levels that will have direct impact on us as a people, our everyday livelihoods, from the prices that we're paying, from the taxes that we're incurring, from how we interact with community policing to our education systems. A lot of this is propagandized and is mostly impacted from the state and replicated into daily practices from the local level. We must be mindful of who we are enacting and when we have to do with our votes as well, prior to them and prior to getting to election day, when these candidates and these aspirants are fishing for their likelihood of should they be on a ticket or not. We must, as a people, not continuously allow our parties to bring up some sense of divisiveness, that we lose a candidate that is worthy of a particular seat or moving in other spaces of electoral and participatory government, right? Too many times we split our votes between 3 to 4 vital and valuable either Republican candidates that will advocate for our community, 5 to 6 of them on the Democratic side. And when we look up, we lose our most influential candidates because we are in this crab in a bucket barrel, whereas though we don't sit amongst ourselves and say, hey, this time you may need to sit down. allow this term to go with this person, and we get you in another seat some way and somehow. And I think
Absolutely.
that just needs to be that continuous, elongated and intentional plan of how we restore ourselves in this political world.
Hey, bro, and here's the other thing. Couple of good points that, and you made some solid, valid points. Here's the other parts of that. We got more election deniers on the ballots this year than we've ever had before. We got more people who claim to be quote unquote patriots, more people who claim to be who don't want to accept the system. Now, trust and believe, we all know the system is flawed and needs some work on it. But I'm just saying, as the current system, they don't even want to accept this part of the current system, but they're looking to get into very political, very influential and powerful positions. I'm looking at now, Rashad, I'm looking at the Secretary of State position. These are the people who oversee the elections for the states, you know, for different states, for whatever state. So if you're in a Secretary of State position and you are an election denier, that means that you may go to whatever length to use your power to disenfranchise and suppress and oppress the vote coming from Black people. So you got to look at that. When you look at the number of election deniers that are on the ballot this year, when you look at the number of people who say that the number of local issues that are on the ballot this year, this is important stuff. And going back to the piece from the Griot, when you're talking about all of the important issues that we often talk about here on this show, the reason they don't get the same type of push, even though we might advocate for it, is because en masse, Black folks don't come out to vote on those issues enough. We might vote in the presidential, we're going to vote in the midterms, but I'm saying that when it's time for your state to determine what the reproductive rights laws are, or the educational system, how the schools are going to be run, how many of us actually are involved, or at least, you know, aware of what those policies are, what those laws are? That's the thing. So, and guess what? Those who are in opposition to our interests play off of our ignorance, bro. They play off of our ignorance. They know we're not coming out to vote in mass outside of the presidential election. Hopefully this election will change the game in terms of the midterm election. But when it comes to the local elections or the other elections around issues, they know they're not, and they can just slide certain policies under the right by us. They can just make certain changes and we won't even know, nor will we even care.
Yeah.
So that's why this situation is so important, bro. What's your take on that? Then we get a couple of.
I'm looking at it, right, and I see this. You know, I'm an optimistic, strength-based a leader, right, and that's the only way to maintain some sense of sanity. And I'm looking at the numbers. I'm looking over the years since we elected our first Black president and things of that sort. You can see the emergence and an increase of voter turnout when it comes to Black folks, right? And this data pool that the Griot shows shares that we have a majority of eligible voters within the Black community nationally that actually are engaged in that process, right? And when you talk about us now refocusing our attention and our electoral power as to vote on the state level in these gubernatorial electoral cycles, what strikes me is we will see an increase. And I say this right now, we will see an increase in Black and brown voters as far as this upcoming election cycle, because now we are seeing, and we talked about this in previous shows, a displacement in our federal government, right? That now it is more focused in things that are happening on our national televisions, things that are taking over our timeline, are now have much oversight on the state positionings, which you're seeing the emergence of a lot of these campaign strategies that Obama and others have used to attract millennial voters are now translating into those that are running for state and local positions, right? Using marketing tools, using different things that are culturally relatable and engaging, and talking on sensitivity and identity issues and reproductive issues, and now knowing that the federal government has then give such oversights to the states, we will see an increase of this, because I myself can attest to seeing more folks in the community more astute and more willingness to learn about their state elected officials and their local elected officials like no other, right? And I think after we get through this and we see our numbers increase, because we will make sure that we can retain some sense of the House and some sense of even our state houses, that we will then see in the next time our next elected cycles, we will see that hopefully we start to pay attention to our judges and those that are running in those judging seats in those other positions, like you said, secretaries of states, and those that are appointed by those that we elect on the state's roles, right? I think we're going to see these, but they're not going to always happen simultaneously. We will see them as we are shifting priorities and as we become more cognitive that, hey, everything works together until we understand the democratic process of the 3 tiers of government, the checks and balances. We will see a shift from not just worrying about the president, we start worrying about the state, and then we start worrying about the local. I think our local has shown an increase in awareness through the emergence of, unfortunately, of our uprisings, right, that we've had within the last decade. And we've seen the increase of federal awareness when we elected Obama, and now the our VP Kamala Harris and others, that we'll start to see now it's time to focus on that. And I can speak in proximity of where we are in the state of Maryland, that, man, we've seen an increase in an influx of mobilization for the first potential Black governor of Maryland, right? Because at one time it was more of like, man, does this man have a chance? To the point it's like the rallying cry is being heard by everyone. And even as we walk into gas stations to pump out gas, you're starting to see young people wear the shirts. You're starting to see people just mumble about any things that are not just sports related, but now are political related. I'm like, we're getting somewhere. So I don't want us to lose sight, that not think that we're not progressing as a people when we're becoming politically astute, but we must give time for others to show up by November 8th, to show up in these numbers. And I think we'll see these numbers very well.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Let's go to the culture crew, the online culture crew, because folks are checking in, sharing their thoughts about Black votes matter. Black votes matter, folks. Say it with me. Black votes matter. All right, let's go to the culture crew. Shy One, you said, you kicking us off this afternoon. You said, we are the main ones complaining, but the last ones to go to the polls. But let me just say this. All right, let's just make sure we clear the air on this, Rashad. There is, I think that I understand why some folks do have the sentiment of not wanting to go to the polls. If we start to beat up on each other because we feel like this person is not being as patriotic, or they're being un-American, or they're being like, or they're a betrayal to the legacy of the ancestors because they decided not to cast a ballot, I think we're going down the wrong direction. Folks, this situation, this system of things that we've been a part of for hundreds of years, since our ancestors set their souls on this part of the earth. The reality is that it has let us down. It had made great promises and has not fulfilled those promises. It has wrote a check that came back, in the great words of our brother Dr. King, wrote a check that came back insufficient funds. So I'm not upset if people say, I don't want to cast a ballot. Let's not beat them up, because they don't want to keep getting lied to. Right? So we understand it. Here's for me, I understand it. I'm going to plan. I plan to vote. So for me, though, it's about making sure that we can understand that, one, if we don't vote on certain things, and I'm talking about, and especially since this is a more state, local focused election than the national election with the president, we're not going to get certain resources. We're not going to get funding for certain neighborhoods. We're not going to get resources for the neighborhoods and communities that we live in. The school boards or the state police and all of that are going to continue to kind of be unchecked because we're not present. Mm-hmm. The vote is not just about casting a ballot and just saying, yes, I'm voting for this person. It is an indicator that you are present, mm-hmm. that your voice matters, that the laws that are created matters. It's to show that you are present and that you're watching. It's to show that, hey, look, you know what? I'm not just going to sit by idly on the sidelines and complain. I'm watching. I'm letting them know they got to take me serious because I'm a voter. And anytime somebody tries to diminish your status as an active citizen because you voted, you just remind them. And I'm talking about coming from the political leadership. We got to remind them. I mm-hmm. voted for you, or my tax dollars go to pay you. There's so much more. It's not just about the history. It's about being present in the moment right now. And I think that's something that we need to keep in mind. So, Shy One, I appreciate you for saying that. Conscious thought very quickly. What is faith without action? Come on. That's what it is, Rashad. What is faith without action? Jayla, you said today is the last day in some states to do early voting. Check your state to see if it is the last day for you. Don't forget to vote Tuesday, November the 8th. Absolutely. Couldn't say that better. Jayla, thank you so much. Definitely check to make sure if you don't want to do, if early voting ends today, it might end tomorrow. I don't know, but check. Crystal, you checked in. Crystal Robertson, you said, I'm tired of being locked up in my mind, Rashad. The sister said, I think it's time to declare freedom.
Mm-hmm. That's powerful.
And you know what? I understand, Crystal. I totally understand, sis, because I felt that. And I've been there. Janelle, you checked in and said, the strategy should be a way of regular business and not just a campaign strategy. We need continual community engagement by our elected officials. Every district needs to be cared for. Absolutely. And that's talking about getting back to that point. Everybody say holding folks accountable and all of that. But guess what? You can't hold nobody accountable if you don't have any type of consequences.
Yeah.
Well, what's the consequence in a democracy? What's the consequence if an elected official goes to office and they don't do what they promised to do on the campaign trail? What's the consequence? Well, they might be voted out. That's not enough nowadays. That's not enough because big corporate interests can supersede that. If you have enough money, you can buy votes, quote unquote. So what's the consequences? The consequences is that nobody takes your leadership seriously. That everything of good that you may have done will be looked at and scrutinized. The consequence is that you will be ashamed. You will be shamed for your lack of engagement. There's got to be that level of consequence.
Yeah.
Calling people out for being liars. Why would you run for office to lie to the people, wherever you are, only to go into that office and do none of the stuff that you promised? You should be called out for that. Go ahead, Rashad, you got the final word.
I say it's one of these, like the faith in the action, right? The first faith is to know, the faith is in you to know that you possess some power of influence, right? In that without your vote or without the vote of anyone, none of these folks can get elected, right? But also you're not voting gives power to someone else to make their vote even more powerful than yours. It's like you're not putting in your cent into that can, and that one person having 1 penny to put into that can. The noise is only rattled by the can, the one penny that went in. If yours is not there, it ain't going to make it no better. It ain't going to lessen their voice. You only solacing yourself. But the action that I speak of is this. How many times do we actually have to be honest with ourselves, knowing that we're going in to cast our vote and only recognizing 3 names out of the 4 listings of rosters of candidates, right? So then we either pick some candidate off of name familiarity or just happen chance that we select anyone. So you go in there, you're selecting, you're tallying in a candidate that you know that you have some faith in, and then others you leave blank, or that you just selecting someone just so that it doesn't look you don't have some level of like disengagement, or you're not familiar, so you end up electing anyone. But the reality is this: after you leave there, do you remember the names of those candidates that you elected, so that you can look up what they're doing 3 months to a year to 2 years throughout their term to 4 years throughout their terms, to go back and say, hey, what have they done? Oh, how do I know how to reach their office? How do I go and meet them when they're all attending Congressional Black Caucus and during the years? How do I reach their constituent rep? How do I make sure that they're showing up at these community meetings? How do we make blockchains and call these congressmen and do these outreach efforts? How do I connect them to our grassroots organizers if that's not my expertise? How do I then go and find someone in my community that can educate me on what I've done now that I've plastered this ballot? If you don't know, it's okay to not know, but to remain ignorant is the problem at hand.
That's it, bro. That is it. Excellent, excellent point. Folks, we got to take a quick pause. When we come forward, let's continue to talk about the midterms. I got a little wrench to throw in the plans, though. President Trump might be announcing his bid for presidency next week. They say by no later than November the 14th. Can y'all believe this? Can y'all? We're going to talk about it. I'm going to talk to Rashad about it, get his take, and I want to hear from you. Make sure y'all post your comments in our streaming, as you're streaming on YouTube and Facebook. Can you believe this? Can you really believe this? We'll talk about it. Stay with us. It's The Culture here on the Black Star Network.
Hatred on the streets, a horrific scene, a white nationalist rally that descended into deadly violence.
White people are losing their damn minds.
As an angry pro-Trump mob storms the U.S. Capitol,
We're about to see the rise of what I call white minority resistance. We have seen white folks in this country who simply cannot tolerate black folks voting.
I think what we're seeing is the inevitable result of violent denial.
This is part of American history. Every time that people of color have made progress, whether real or symbolic, there has been what Carol Anderson at Emory University calls white rage as a backlash.
This is the rise of the Proud Boys and the Boogaloo Boys. America, there's going to be more of this.
Here's all the Proud Boys, guys.
This country is getting increasingly racist in its behaviors and its attitudes because of the fear of white people.
The fear that they're taking our jobs, they're taking our resources, they're taking our women. This is white fear.
When we invest in ourselves, we all shine. Together, we are black beyond measure.
When you talk about blackness and what happens in black culture, we're about covering these things that matter to us, speaking to our issues and concerns.
This is a genuine people-powered movement.
There's a lot of stuff that we're not getting. You get it, and you spread the word.
We wish to plead our own cause. Too long have others spoken for us. We cannot tell our own story if we can't pay for it. This is about covering us. Invest in black-owned media. Your dollars matter. We don't have to keep asking them to cover our stuff. So please support us in what we do, folks. We want to hit 2,000 people, $50 this month, raise $100,000. We're behind 100,000, so we want to hit that. Y'all money makes this possible. Check some money orders. Go to P.O. Box 57196, Washington, D.C. 20037-0196. The Cash App is $RM Unfiltered. PayPal is R Martin Unfiltered. Venmo is RM Unfiltered. Zelle is Roland at RolandSMartin.com.
Know your voting rights. If you are unsure where to vote or don't know if your polling location has changed, call or text 1-866-OUR-VOTE. For more information, call or text 1-866-OUR-VOTE.
We've got to stand up. Republicans are banning abortion rights, tearing down democracy, blocking progress. But when Democrats stand together, we win. Because we voted, Democrats stood up for black lives, voting to ban police chokeholds, stood up for black women, putting one on the Supreme Court, stood up for our families, lowering cost of health care and prescriptions and capping insulin, and stood up for millions by slashing student debt. This November, let's stand up together and keep making progress.
All right, folks, welcome back to the show. First and foremost, let's bring my brother Rashad back into the screen here. Rashad, do you feel the energy? Do you feel the energy of, and I just put this in the chat talking to my sister Nisa, 1971, you know, she asked me, how you doing today, Farajii? And I was like, I'm good. I'm feeling like, I feel like I got to protect my energy this weekend or something, because, you know what I mean? Like there's this energy of uncertainty, like it's exciting, but then at the same time, you don't know what's going to pop off. You know what I mean? I guess it's like going to, hey, Rashad, I guess it's like going to a Baltimore club.
Oh, I have a good
it's
time,
exciting, but you don't know what's going to pop off. You know what I mean? Like,
oh, that's the perfect way, bro. It's like, hey, you want to go to sleep before the numbers hit the end of the night, and you be like, I just want to wake up, and however it lands,
right? Bro, I don't know. Like, I'm feeling like I'm looking at our commercials that we run in I Will Vote. Big shout out to them. I'm looking at, what Brother Roland's putting out there. Y'all hear him, from his book tour and everything. Like, this is a really a very serious, critical, exciting, uncertain, optimistic time for us to be in our country right now. And I don't know if anybody else is feeling that. I mean, I'm just going off of the energy right now, folks, that this is exciting, but then you're just so uncertain, right? Like, for those of us who know, for those of us who have been blessed to receive some level of consciousness and to see things, right? For those of us who have studied history and seeing the progression, the ups and downs of our sojourn in this country, for those who are watching what is going on right now, there is this element. There is this exciting yet uncertain element that I'm feeling, and I have to say, bro, I this weekend, just kind of keeping my eyes open and I don't know what to say. What are you feeling about this, bro?
Like I said earlier, I honestly believe we're going to show out. We're going to show out in good numbers. I don't know if it's going to be record breaking, but I think we as a people are going to show up and do what we continuously do, and that's to be civically engaged. That this narrative and this deception that we are not civically engaged is not true. Because we have rallied plenty of times to elect those that are in favor of our interests and those that have misled us through their campaign promises, and we still put them in. And I think now we'll just be finding ourselves more mindful and conscious of how we vote, to the point that we're not overly exposing our right hand to the left-handed monster.
Yeah.
But I think, like myself, like I'm personally gonna go to sleep pretty early before those numbers even hit my screen. That's just how I stay politically engaged and manage my sanity, because to be a black man in America and
Come on, bro,
is to always be constantly at rage. So to minimize my level of rageness, I'm gonna get a good night's sleep and wake up and see how the rest of this country wants to see the direction that it's going for, because I'm continuously going the right direction myself.
Hey, bro, hey, Rashad, look, I'm at this point, right? Like after the 2020 election. Well, actually, 2016, because Trump got in 2016, right?
Mm-hmm.
So after the 2016 election, bro, I don't know about anybody else, but that like brought on some level of PTSD. Because the announcement about him winning the election was like, what, 2 a.m. or something? It was like declared. I'm talking about when he first ran and he won. Yeah. That was like,
yeah, they had us up to 3 o'clock in the morning. That was
bro, PTSD.
That's what
y'all remember that? Y'all remember?
Watch them play with these numbers.
Culture Crew. Do y'all remember Do y'all remember?
They try to wait for the country to go back to sleep to play with the numbers. That's what, I'm gonna just go to sleep. You ain't gonna fool me.
I think I was like dozing in and out. Like I was like, all right, I'm gonna, we'll see how this thing turn out. But do y'all remember when you woke up that morning and you heard Donald Trump was president?
And you ain't know if you was dreaming or if it was real?
Bro, you ain't know if you... You know how they always had those moments, they in history, like where where were you when this happened type of moments? Like where were you when JFK was killed? When were you during 9/11? That's where were you moment? Like when you heard that Donald Trump was elected president. And the reason I'm bringing that up because it's like a level of, like I said, PTSD, bro. When you just realize you're like, oh no, it can all go left in a blink of an eye, right? So now, even with this midterm election happening, you're like, okay, say if the Democrats win, say if the Democrats even get as far as to still remain in power in Congress, right? Now you gotta brace yourself for the backlash. Now you gotta just like sit there and be like, all right, we might not be in a, you're still like, like what's about to happen? I don't know if anybody. Let me go to my crew and then we can talk about Trump on this.
Yeah,
let's. Yeah, I mean, because that's
because everyone has to have their own way of like navigating these next few days. It's so critical, it's so valuable, but it's like we've seen it before. And this is going to be one of those ones where you're watching the national syndicated news stations. And for me, it's going to be like, this is like CIAA. This is like March Madness when you're watching each state show like their personnel that's going to be projected. And you got to count the numbers of like, okay, do we have enough Democratic governors in place for this one? All right. Will we get the Congress again? Who will flip or will we maintain? Right. And these are the parts where it's like, man, you really got to play out because we say it every time it comes around these electoral times, but this is very critical. And I'm glad you said this earlier. We can't continuously just notate and bring back up history as though history is not happening in the now.
No. Absolutely not, bro. Absolutely not.
Let's see what I'll remember saying, Farajii.
Yeah, we got to see what they got to say, man, because people are tripping. Because look, Janae thinks she's funny. She talking about, yes, she remembers post-Trump stress disorder is real. PTSD is real. We need a prescription. That shit is a headache, mental fog. I'm telling you. I don't even know if I'm going to like watch. I don't know yet. I don't know. But it is absolutely real. Let me go to someone else. Here we go. Karen, my sister Karen checked in and said, look, the importance of our votes is if we do not vote and conservatives become the majority in Congress and the Senate, nothing important to us will be passed for 30 years or more. Vote to survive. Come on, ain't that the truth?
Yes.
Ain't that the truth? Conscious Thought checked in. I went to sleep before the announcement of Trump's win in 2016. The fix was in. I didn't even think it was fixed. That thing took us so off. Man. And again, the man saying, look, and this was the whole purpose of me bringing this up. He's saying it looks like he's going to announce that he's going to run again for president of the United States, folks. I can't make this stuff up, man.
We set our priority. Let this man, he must go through his investigation before he's promoted to any other pendulum and platform of leadership again.
I don't know, but see, guess what, though, Rashad? That's the thing.
This loophole,
like
man.
You can announce that technically you can announce you can run for president while investigations are pending. You know what I mean? That doesn't stop you from announcing that you're going to run, because right now he made this announcement in Iowa, which is one of when you if you track politics, Iowa's like the first state to do like what they call the caucus, and that's a group of citizens that come together and they kind of caucus, and it's like a smaller version of an election, but they caucus over which candidates would they think is best. But he's telling his supporters in Iowa, he said, get ready. He said this. He said, get ready. This is coming soon. So there's an expectation that he's going to announce, and they are talking about after the midterm, but before Thanksgiving.
Mm-hmm.
And even though his advisors have cautioned that no final decision has been made and that the former president could change his mind on the details, but it looks like, folks, take a look. It looks like he is going to most likely move forward. If he does move forward, Rashad, that's going to put everything, I mean, this throws a major wrench, sort of, for the Republicans more so the Democrats. I think a lot of folks knew that the Republicans they don't have a figure like Trump that is going to bring certain elements to the campaign.
Yes.
All these different far-right groups, all these different militia types, all these different, neoconservatives, all these different white supremacists. You got all these different groups of people. And who is the one guy that they want to hear from?
Mm-hmm.
Trump.
They have identified their singular leader.
That's it. They want to hear from Trump. They're not going to hear from Mitt Romney. They're not going to hear from Mitch McConnell. They're not going to hear from who's that joker down in Texas? Ted Cruz. They're not going to hear from Trump. They want to hear from Trump, man. They want Trump to run. And even though in some places his influence is waning a little bit, the fact is they still want to. The party is going in such a direction, and he has shaped it in such a direction where he's the only answer to the party, because nobody else is going to respond. Especially if you are a Republican and you're not aligned with his view of things, then you're going to be seen as the enemy to the party, not just an enemy to Trump.
And you see this replicating and the different candidates for governors across the different states as well. It's like they have identified their singular leader from the federal level, that they are now trying to replicate this type of closed-minded leadership, very conservative and very unhealthy type of leadership that is ready to buck at the system,
right,
in the face of maintaining whiteness, that they're trying to now replicate these in the spaces of who's going to retain governors and things of that sort. That we just got to be mindful. I personally am mind-boggled at the loopholes or the level of how we call it, to make fun of it, like the caucasity that they have to just navigate around these things, and to say that it's like, how are you deemed eligible when we are now facing one of the largest and most historical cases of political upheaval, and just it's national security. The one person that has caused it is now positioning himself to be back in the position again, and yet we have to entertain it. It's the level of genius.
Wait a minute, I need y'all to see my face, bro.
We haven't even closed the door, and he's about to come back in. He's giving us
Yo, he's truly like Tupac and Juice, bro.
He doesn't.
I'm telling you, he's truly like Tupac and Juice, bro. He's the one that caused the pain, right? Well, he not just him singularly, but he did all this stuff, and then he gonna come back to the American people and start and be like, man, I'm sorry for your loss. It's crazy. Man. It's madness. And I'm serious, bro. There should not be one state in the United States of America that shall allow that man on the ballot. Not one state. And if one state says it's okay for him to be on the ballot, after all this, we got a different set of conversations to have.
You about to start secession plans.
I'm just saying. I'm literally serious, bro. Like, and then check this out. Check this out. So if this dude is able to run for president in the midst of all this, you're going to beat up on the little guy, the little woman who don't want to vote because you feel like, what do you say to the voters? Hey guys, we need to go and vote so Trump don't get back into office. He should be in jail.
And that ain't going to be that ain't the rallying cry. Right? That right there has caused us to lose faith in the political system itself, that we can't say, hey, the person that has caused it is going to be our reason for it. No, we got to bring to light what we're actually fighting for, and we're not fighting for a token representative.
Hey, look, Rashad, Goldie Snookums in our chat said, he speaks for half of the country. He isn't an anomaly. You're absolutely right. I'm not saying he's an anomaly, but I'm simply saying that it is absolute hypocrisy. It would be a slap in the face of Black, brown, Asian, and white people. Good, conscious people of good conscience, people with morals and values. It is a slap in the face if this system allows that man back in office after we've seen 9 months of hearings from the January 6th committee, after we're seeing number of investigations of him and his associates, and you mean to tell me he has the right to go and run for the highest office in the land again? And we, the American people, can't do nothing about it? I don't care if he represents a certain part of that doesn't matter. I'm simply talking about the right to run for public office after all of this. And you want us to say, and you're going to come back and say, well, we need to have faith in the system. I'm telling you, you're probably going to see the lowest voter turnout among Blacks and well-thinking, well-mannered, well-intentioned white folks, Latino. You ain't going to see people.
No. I'm curious to see what decision he going to make, but I think and all that to say is we still got to be mindful of what we entertain. Not saying that we can't. We have to be mindful. We have to pay attention to him, but that can't be the only thing that we're paying attention to, as he is not the only rock that can make the puddle of water shake.
Not the only one. Absolutely. Look, we got to take a quick pause, but my man Rashad, I appreciate you, brother. You know, Fridays is lit now. You on here, got Nira up next. Y'all be bringing that fire. So I appreciate you, man. Thank you so much for checking in, brother.
We got to go into our holiday on a celebratory occasion, man. And we're going to let Trumpism shut out light.
Hey, look, we you know, just I'll check in with you, but we're doing something on Tuesday night trying to get everybody ready. So we'd love to see if we can include you, but we will certainly talk offline about that availability, bro.
Hey, always for the culture, brother. Hit me up. You know, you always got a yes before a no when it comes to us. This is us building community and legacy. Let's continue to do our work and our service. Y'all stay blessed.
Stay blessed, Rashad. Thank you so much, brother. Folks, that was my guy, culture crew member Rashad Staten, who is a nonprofit leader. He is an activist, an organizer, and a dad. So we big shout out to him and all the great work he's doing. All right, we got to take a quick pause. When we come forward, let's talk a little bit about switching gears from the politics of things to looking at money and business, as we're going to have a conversation about how do we support Black and brown entrepreneurs in this day and time. And then later on in the hour, I want to check in and talk about Black men healing. What do we do now that the unfortunate killing of hip hop artist Takeoff has set a wave of conversations about, you know, the value and the importance in the life of Black men? How do we have Black men healing? And more importantly, how can women in the community assist in that process? So we'll have those conversations up next. So stay with us. A lot to get to. You tune into The Culture right here on the Black Star Network.
When we invest in ourselves, we all shine. Together, we are Black beyond measure.
Don't you think it's time to get wealthy? I'm Deborah Owens, America's Wealth Coach, and my new show on the Black Star Network focuses on the things your financial advisor or bank isn't telling you. So watch Get Wealthy on the Black Star Network.
When we invest in ourselves, our glow, our vision, our vibe, we all shine. Together, we are Black beyond measure.
We talk about blackness and what happens in Black culture. We're about covering these things that matter to us, speaking to our issues and concerns.
This is a genuine people-powered movement.
There's a lot of stuff that we're not getting. You get it, and you spread the word.
We wish to plead our own cause to long have others spoken for us. We cannot tell our own story if we can't pay for it. This is about covering us. Invest in Black-owned media. Your dollars matter. We don't have to keep asking them to cover our stuff. So please support us in what we do, folks. We want to hit 2,000 people, $50 this month, raise $100,000. We're behind 100,000, so we want to hit that. Y'all money makes this possible. Check some money orders. Go to P.O. Box 57196, Washington, D.C. 20037-0196. The Cash App is $RM Unfiltered. PayPal is R Martin Unfiltered. Venmo is RM Unfiltered. Zelle is roland@rolandsmartin.com.
Know your rights before you vote. If you have any questions or a problem voting, call or text 1-866-OUR-VOTE. For more information, call or text 1-866-OUR-VOTE.
We've got to stand up. Republicans are banning abortion rights, tearing down democracy, blocking progress. But when Democrats stand together, we win. Because we voted, Democrats stood up for Black lives, voting to ban police chokeholds, stood up for Black women, putting one on the Supreme Court, stood up for our families, lowering cost of health care and prescriptions and capping insulin, and stood up for millions by slashing student debt. This November, let's stand up together and keep making progress.
Hatred on the streets, a horrific scene, a white nationalist rally that descended into deadly violence.
White people are losing their damn minds.
As an angry pro-Trump mob storms the U.S. Capitol,
We're about to see the rise of what I call white minority resistance. We have seen white folks in this country who simply cannot tolerate Black folks voting.
I think what we're seeing is the inevitable result of violent denial.
This is part of American history. Every time that people of color have made progress, whether real or symbolic, there has been what Carol Anderson at Emory University calls white rage as a backlash.
This is the rise of the Proud Boys and the Boogaloo Boys. America, there's going to be more of this.
Here's all the Proud Boys, guys.
This country is getting increasingly racist in its behaviors and its attitudes because of the fear of white people.
The fear that they're taking our jobs, they're taking our resources, they're taking our women. This is white fear. When you talk about blackness and what happens in Black culture, we're about covering these things that matter to us, speaking to our issues and concerns.
This is a genuine people-powered movement.
There's a lot of stuff that we're not getting. You get it, and you spread the word.
We wish to plead our own cause to long have others spoken for us. We cannot tell our own story if we can't pay for it. This is about covering us. Invest in Black-owned media. Your dollars matter. We don't have to keep asking them to cover our stuff. So please support us in what we do, folks. We want to hit 2,000 people, $50 this month, raise $100,000. We're behind 100,000, so we want to hit that. Y'all money makes this possible. Check some money orders. Go to P.O. Box 57196, Washington, D.C. 20037-0196. The Cash App is $RM Unfiltered. PayPal is R Martin Unfiltered. Venmo is RM Unfiltered. Zelle is roland@rolandsmartin.com.
invest in ourselves. We're investing in what's next for all of us. Growing, creating, making moves that move us all forward. Together, we are Black beyond measure.
Hi, I'm Dr. Jackie Hood Martin, and I have a question for you. Ever feel as if your life is teetering and the weight and pressure of the world is consistently on your shoulders? Well, let me tell you, living a balanced life isn't easy. Join me each Tuesday on Black Star Network for A Balanced Life with Dr. Jackie. We'll laugh together, cry together, pull ourselves together, and cheer each other on. So join me for new shows each Tuesday on Black Star Network, A Balanced Life with Dr. Jackie.
Exercise your right to vote. If the lines are long or you're getting turned away, call or text 1-866-OUR-VOTE. For more information, call or text 1-866-OUR-VOTE.
We've got to stand up. Republicans are banning abortion rights, tearing down democracy, blocking progress. But when Democrats stand together, we win. Because we voted, Democrats stood up for Black lives, voting to ban police chokeholds, stood up for Black women, putting one on the Supreme Court, stood up for our families, lowering cost of health care and prescriptions and capping insulin, and stood up for millions by slashing student debt. This November, let's stand up together and keep making progress.
All right, folks, welcome back to The Culture here on the Black Star Network. Thank you so much for tuning in this afternoon. We truly, truly appreciate it. And before we move on to our next discussion, I want to let you know that your support for Black Star has been absolutely crazy and so pivotal. First, I wanted to say thank you to everyone that has already joined the Bring the Funk fan club, and gave something to help us continue to do the great work that we're doing here on the Black Star Network with providing you quality programming, having conversations that are culturally relevant to you and where you are, and more importantly, continue to do the great work of making sure that we stay vigilant in our struggle for freedom, justice, and equality and liberation, and at the same time becoming much more global in our view of ourselves. So thank you for all that you're doing to support us here at the Black Star Network. And so make sure y'all just follow us on Black Star Network on social media, Black Star Network on Instagram, on Twitter, and you can certainly check us out on our website at blackstarnetwork.com. And you can support us financially, continue to share the content, and most importantly, join us as we have this movement around Black media. Also, I would invite you to check me out on all social media platforms at Farajii, the real Farajii on IG, Farajii on Twitter, Farajii Muhammad on Facebook. I would love to connect with you and building with you. So many of you are now just doing that, sharing videos and telling me and keeping me posted about things that I did not know. I can't see everything. So I'm trying to read, I'm trying to keep up on a lot of different things, but it is you that helps me. And then in turn, I hope that I'm helping you to bring those conversations to the forefront and to the discussion. So again, thank you so much for connecting and building with me. And I want to continue to build our community up with the culture, with the online culture crew. All right, folks, we're going to pivot from one conversation that we had about entrepreneurship and supporting Black businesses. We're going to move forward. We're going to pivot from that and circle back to that one. But I do want to have a conversation. Now, normally I don't have these type of conversations about what celebrities and what they say to each other and how they say something. But there was something that stuck out for me about this latest controversy about hip hop artist Drake and him saying something about another hip hop artist, Megan Thee Stallion. Drake has put out a new album with the other artist called 21 Savage. They call the album is called Her Loss. And on there's a song about that Drake has apparently he decided to insert a line in there about Megan Thee Stallion. Now, to give you some background on this very quickly, Megan Thee Stallion was in an unfortunate situation just a couple of years ago with another artist by the name of Tory Lanez, where she ended up being in a truck with Tory Lanez and getting shot in her foot. It was a very scary moment for her because, of course, when you have situations like that, it could go left very, very quickly. Well, now, after that whole situation has gone down, Megan Thee Stallion has moved on, her career has moved on and all of that, but there's still some pain around that. Well, Drake decided to put in one of his new songs on his new album, a reference to the fact that she got shot. And not only did she get shot, that she might be lying about who shot her. And the way he put it in the song was very, very disrespectful. And so as a result of that, Megan Thee Stallion decided to put out a tweet in response to it because she said that she wanted to take her. She didn't appreciate that. Look at this. This is from TMZ. She claps back at Drake for this on her Lost album. And she had I want to pull up and I know they got some lyrics, some words in there. But this is the lyric here. The B, and I hate using that word, so I don't want to say it. The B lie about getting shot, but she's still a stallion. So obviously it's a reference to Megan Thee Stallion and calling her, and essentially it's like offensive because it makes it seem like Drake is calling her a liar. So now that's the part. That's one part of this. But the other part was what Megan Thee Stallion said that I think that needs to be at least discussed a little bit, because we're starting to see more and more of this part of our culture that emerging, that black men are at a place where we're not supporting, caring, we're not thinking about the well-being of the black woman. So Ariel and Keena, if we can have, and if we can see, Ariel, if you can pull up her Twitter, her tweet about this. Let's take a look at this, and I don't know if you can make it bigger. And then I want to bring Nira Muhammad, who's the host of Queen Talks with Nira podcast. We want to bring her into this. But take a look at this, folks. And we had to, of course, take out the curse words. But she says, I know I'm very popular, but y'all got to stop attaching weak ass conspiracy theories and bars to my name. LOL. The N-word has ever addressed me or at me with a fact or receipt. I am clout. So she gets some. Now she's obviously very upset because she's using a lot of profanity. But she said this. Take a look at this. She said, stop using my shooting for clout. Since when the F is it cool to joke about women getting shot? You dudes, especially rap dudes, are lame, ready to boycott about shoes and clothes, but dogpile on a black woman when she said one of y'all homeboys abused her. And when the MF and facts come out, remember all y'all haters' favorite rappers that stood behind a dude that shot a woman. All right, we're going to just close that out right there. I want to bring in Nira Muhammad on this, who often talks about, on her podcast, Queen Talks with Nira Muhammad. Y'all can definitely hear season 3 that's streaming right now. But, again, we don't normally get into little controversies on issues like this, Nira, but this one kind of hit different. One kind of hit. It kind of hit different. And the reason is because I think Meg is right. I'm in support of Meg on this one.
Absolutely.
Why are we finding that a lot of guys seem to, even black men are just crapping so much on
black women?
On black women. And during the most uncertain and unfortunate moments. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. It was interesting. They actually had another quote from Drake's album that you didn't read. I don't know why you didn't read it, because that was actually pretty significant too. He also called her out about her graduation. You didn't read that.
Oh, I didn't read it. I'm sorry.
I was waiting for you to read it because it was right there. I was like, he's not reading it.
Okay. All right.
But that's interesting. I'm like, I can't believe that he even talked about oh, you graduated, but you didn't learn enough. Like, what? Like, Drake, you didn't even finish high school, sweetheart. Like, are you seriously talking about or making fun of a woman who graduated college when you didn't even have, you had like how many credits? He had like this little teeny bit of credits left that he could have easily taken. And Drake might say, oh, I don't care, I'm a millionaire now. Yeah, but you're pretty dumb. You are pretty dumb to even come out and make those type of statements. I mean, it's funny because I've actually been making a lot of jokes about Drake lately just because I've been seeing this transition. Mind you, let me just say, I am not a Drake basher. I have always been a huge fan of Aubrey Graham. I grew up watching Degrassi during the generation that he was actually on. So I actually grew up watching him on one of my favorite shows long before he ever became the Drake that we listen to now. So when he did come out as an artist, I was one of the first people who was listening to him because I already had built like this relationship with him just from watching Degrassi. And I've been a huge fan and a huge supporter of Drake. But I have definitely seen a shift over the years about the rhetoric and the way that he talks about and the way that he addresses and the way that he approaches women. And Farajii, I just want to throw this out there. There's more Drake controversy from this album. He also made a comment about Serena Williams' husband, calling him a groupie. Like,
didn't Drake date Serena?
Yes, and on this album, it's circulating on Twitter now. I think TMZ just put it out there. They're talking about it. He called out Serena Williams' husband, and so I was like reading the comments as you were talking. I saw these people like, if he's her husband, shouldn't he be a groupie for her? Like, Drake, now you're saying a man shouldn't show the woman that he's with vulnerability. He shouldn't gas up his woman.
See,
you damn well should be a groupie for your woman. What do you mean? Like, he's such a clown.
Right. So I think one of my concerns about this type of artistry is that just as much as people can get offended, we hear a lot of people about anti-Semitism views. I think we get offended when there are anti-Black views, but then when Black men starts to really, and I'm talking about going in on Black women, right, in a certain way. I don't know. And I mean, people are upset. People are saying, I've been reading on social media where people have said, where was the aggressive lyrics when Pusha T was coming at your door? When he was talking about you and your son and your baby mother and all of that stuff.
First of all, you already know my response. If you gay, just say that. Like, I'm sorry, because I am so tired of seeing Black men crapping on Black women. I tell you all the time, I am constantly, I swear, almost every single day, I am deleting more and more and more random ass Black men off of my social media. I had about 5,000 Facebook friends. I'm down to like 2,200 now because I've just been deleting so much madness off my page. I cannot tell you how often I see Black men just crapping on Black women. And I'm like, if you are gay, bro, just say that. Because there's no way you hate the Black woman as much. And you say you want a Black woman.
Yeah.
Now, if you're confused about your sexuality, that's not on us, bro. Don't take that out on us. And that's the way that I'm starting to feel, because it's just like, it's no way that you say that you love women, you love Black women, but you have this much negativity and this much hate and this much aggression and lack of protection against the Black woman. And now I got to see you walking around with a purse. And I got like, no, sir, I'm not doing it. I'm not doing it.
Right. So my thinking is that it creating a culture where this is acceptable. When Kanye said stuff about Lizzo, when Ari Spears said stuff about Lizzo, then when DaBaby said whatever he said, the disrespectful stuff about Meg. Now you got Drake saying stuff about Meg, and it's like,
what the hell did Black women ever do to you?
Right. Like I'm not understanding why there is this growing culture of hatred against Black women, bashing Black women as much. And then look, I know somebody said in the chat, well, you got the song F and F by Glorilla that's out there right now.
That song, I'm sorry, let me just stop, because I'm a reading specialist, baby. I'm all about reading comprehension. That song, actually, if you read the lyrics of that song in no way is actually bashing men. It's about celebrating a woman's freedom, womanhood, hanging out with your friends. It's really like a love letter to women, to just having fun, just being like, I'm single right now. I'm having fun. That is okay. If you're not an F and F of F dude, then you're not offended by that song because you obviously weren't the guy that she was talking about.
Right.
But let's
right.
be real. Let's stop pretending like Black women don't have a reason to be upset. Like Black women don't have a reason to be hurt. Like, let's stop doing that, because that's when you do a disservice to the Black family. When you can't take accountability for your actions, that is when you do a disservice to the family. There are more Black households without a male than any other nationality in this country. I'm not saying that all Black men don't take care of their kids, because you can take care of your kids and not be in the home. But
Right.
there are more homes without a Black male than there are for any other nationality of children. When I talk to my Latino children and my white children, their dads are home. The majority of my Black children, their dads were not in the picture. Why? And I'm sick of, stop blaming the Black woman for everything. And stop blaming, as Black women, we got to stop always blaming a Black man. Because again, I don't see relationships as being black and white. There are so many areas of shaded gray.
Yeah.
So I'm not, this is not me saying, oh, well, Black women don't ever nitpick about Black men. But from what I'm seeing, and from what I've seen just over the trajectory of years, even if you look at hip hop culture and you look at music videos, when you look at Black male music videos, you see a lot of Black males. Do they have Black women as their love interests? Oftentimes they do not. They have those Latino sisters. They have the lighter, the real hot. They got them chicks that don't look, you don't know what the fuck they are. Maybe they're Armenian. Who knows? But when you look at Black women, when you look at our music videos, it's almost always a Black man.
Yeah.
Almost
and see,
always.
this is,
we love Black men.
And this is why I think in all of this, you pointed out the line that he had for Serena's husband, and I didn't know that, but it just speaks volumes about some unresolved issues.
Yeah. What's wrong with the man loving his wife or loving a woman? What is?
I mean, we see the same thing with the whole Future Russell Wilson thing. You know what I'm saying? You know what I'm saying? Like the whole dynamic, like there are some really unresolved issues that I think that I'm seeing more and more that are becoming more and more prevalent within Black men.
Yeah.
Around women, around relationships, and that's the part that is concerning for me.
Yeah, I think it's very weird that Drake can always talk about love my brothers, cut them in on anything, always the broski all on his social media. He loved posting his homeboys. It's giving gay. Drake, Aubrey Drake Graham, whatever. It's giving gay, bro. I'm sorry. You love to shout out your homeboys. You love to show love to the homies, but you always have something negative to say about women. You can't keep a relationship. That's giving. It's giving. And if that's what you are, and this is not to shame gay men. I'm not doing that, because that's fine. Love is love, baby. I'm all for love. But if you're bashing women because you don't want a woman, because that's been done before. We've seen that a lot. That's just like we're in a day and time and a space where we can have these honest conversations and we can tell it like it is. You're starting to wear ballies in your hair, you're feminine, you're looking a little bit like, I don't care, whatever, do what you got to do, but leave Black women out of it. We don't deserve to be bashed for whatever reason that you want to bash us for. If it's because somebody broke your heart, I'm sorry. We've all been there before. We've all had our heart broken before. But all this, I think we got to move from a space of just bashing one another in general. Black women got to stop bashing Black men. And Black men damn sure got to stop bashing Black women. But I got to say, from my perspective as a Black woman, we've always loved Black men. We've always gone the extra mile and extra hard for Black men, because guess what? We birth y'all. We are the mothers of Black men. We raise Black men. No one goes harder for Black men than Black women. And if a Black man says that we don't, he's a liar. Yeah.
Let me go take a couple of comments as folks checked in on this. Willie, my guy, you said, I will not condone us bashing each other. It happens so much against each other. Whole podcast bashing men. We have to unite.
We do. We do have to unite.
And I'm often reminded, when I hear that, I'm often reminded, like, man, if you can disrupt the peace and the unity between the man and the woman, then you already disrupted the household and you damn sure disrupted the community, right?
I just constantly see the Black family just constantly seeing it dismantle. And it's like, at what point do we take accountability? We can keep going back to what happened during Jim Crow, or, taking the Black man out of the household. We can go back to the war on drugs. We can keep on going back to all these things that happened, but that's just staying in the past.
Mm-hmm.
We don't need to stay there anymore. We know what happened, but what are we going to do about it? What do we do to change it? What do we do to make it better?
So those are the questions that I think that are important, because at the end of the day, it still comes down to personal responsibility. As a Black man, you should be able to say, okay, I have this issue. I've experienced this trauma. I've gone through this situation. Let me resolve my issue. As a Black woman, I got this issue.
Mm-hmm.
Let me work to resolve. Let me get to the bottom of my pain and to resolving this trauma. And now it just seems as if the culture has allowed us to be, not only do we recognize we got trauma, but it's also allowed us to re-traumatize other people with our trauma.
Yep. Because that's exactly what you did, Drake. Like, why? First of all, the album is called Her Loss. So that's already you and 21 Savage saying that you guys are some awesome, great catch. And whatever woman, it didn't work with, or whatever relationship didn't last in your life, it's the woman's loss. Yeah. But I don't see that, Drake. I'm not seeing that. Same thing with 21 Savage. I'm not seeing that. I'm not seeing, outside of the money that you guys have, I don't see any qualities within either one of you that qualify you as being some man that a woman should be sad about losing. I don't see those qualities. Outside of your bank account. Okay, you got money. But do you respect women? I think Drake had a line in one song where he was like, yeah, you can't walk around my house naked because all my homies are here. You're immature. You're a child. You're in your 30s. You're like literally approaching 40. Because I'm what? He's what, 36? Because I think about
so.
You're about 3 years. So, bro, you're approaching 40, and you're talking about a woman can't walk around your house naked because your homeboys are there. It's giving.
All right, let's go back. Let's get a couple more comments from our online culture crew. Max 7, you said, I feel like she's one-sided. Is it me? I mean, she is a woman, Max 7.
And I've also said that women do it too, and that women shouldn't be doing it. So I mean, maybe I'm one-sided, but no, I'm looking at it. It is what it is, bro. I have no problem telling a woman when she's wrong. I'm that homegirl that when my homegirls ask me for advice, if you're wrong, sis, you're wrong. Sorry.
Right. Yeah.
He was right on that one, sis. He gotcha. I'm not. Drake had no reason to bring that shit up, for one.
Yeah.
Why'd you bring it up? Why are you gonna really believe Tory Lanez over a woman? Why would you lie? Why are you talking shit about Serena's husband when you mad because you ain't swimming in that ass no more? Boy, bye. Have a seat.
Marcina Faith Albert, you said growing culture as if it wasn't there before. Yeah, the belittling of women has always been there, but it continues to grow. And I'm saying this in disrespect, Marcina. It's growing because it's so blatant. And here's the sad part. What do you teach young boys? You see what I'm saying? Like, and this is the part, Nira, that I think that a lot of us tend to forget. That there is a generation coming up behind us, right? If you were blessed to have children, if you are a woman and you bash men and you got a son, what do you teach your son? Vice versa. If you're a man that bashes women, but you got a daughter, what do you teach your daughter?
Yeah.
We love to be the in the moment type of culture. Oh man, I'm gonna do this, I'm gonna do that. Not thinking about the ramifications, the implications that it has on those coming from behind us. More importantly, the children in your household.
Yeah.
You see what I'm saying?
In education, the conversations that I've heard from my students, you know how many restorative circles that I've had to have because of things that have been said by boys in the classroom, inappropriate things to the girls, and these are 5th graders.
Wow.
Hell, I had a 5th grader when I conceived our daughter, my first year teaching, and I had a 5th grader going around telling everyone that he was the father of my baby.
Wow.
That's my boy now. You know, he got it together.
Right.
It's funny I mentioned him because he just checked up on me. He's in high school now, and he's doing so well. But I had to lean into that ass a little bit, and so did his mom. You know, I love his mother, but we had to lean into that ass and he was going around showing girls, not girls. He was in an after school program at the time, watching girls twerking on his phone and was showing it in after school. And I had a 3rd grader come to my class and tell me, Miss M, so-and-so was showing this in after school yesterday. And these are 5th graders. So we do, the perception that boys and men have of one another starts very early, and we said it's growing because there's so much more access, because of social media, because of our smartphones, because of our tablets. The access is there. That's why it's able to grow at a quicker rate than it did before. Absolutely.
Sandy checked in very quickly. We want to take a couple of more comments because we want to have our next conversation, which deals with the issue of Black men healing. So this goes right along with it. But Sandy said, Nira is making the point that men rapping, belittling, or trashing Black women, but then claim they love Black women. It's a contradiction, huge contradiction.
It's a farce.
Yeah, it's a contradiction. Nisa, 1971, you said, where's the aggression for the real oppressors? The oligarchs and power brokers in this country deserve your aggression.
Facts. You mad? You taking out on Black women. We not the ones that hurt you, baby. We the ones birthing you.
Right. Truth is Power said, where's Big Mama at to teach these women how to keep these clothes on? Where's Granddad at to teach these men having more women don't make you more man? It's called, and I can't see the rest of it, but yeah, you're talking about that moral authority, right? That's what I'm thinking. Truth is Power. Big Mama, Granddad, Grandpa, Grandma, they were the moral authority of it. And we're seeing it differently, right? Like the culture is different. Right.
I'm not agreeing with that comment. I don't understand that comment.
Okay.
I mean, if we just all celebrated the Woman King. If you look back at our culture in Africa and anywhere else, we weren't covered from head to toe, but men respected women. We weren't over sexualized. That's the difference. If you look at the Aztec, the original Native American community, women walked around with their breasts completely out. That was the culture. We were respected. We didn't have to worry about that.
Yeah.
You didn't look at a woman and be like, oh. Calm your hormones down, sir. Don't blame the woman because she wants to dress the way that she want to dress, so you don't respect her. Bruh, I like wearing crop tops, and I like wearing little, whatever. I like wearing my little shirt. Like I show a boobage, under boob, whatever. I like to wear my little shorts in the summertime with my heels. That doesn't make me any less educated or smart or sophisticated or talented because of the way that I dress. That's ignorance. And if you can't look past a woman's beauty, that's the animal in you.
Look, we're going to take a quick pause because we're going to need to heal from this. Because this fire is coming today from Nira Muhammad. All right, folks, we're going to take a quick pause. Look. We're going to switch gears. Let's talk about the healing of Black men. I'm going to be talking to two dynamic folks who runs the organization Black Men Heal to give us some insight as to what we're seeing as the culture grows to becoming more. It seems like, it's a culture of trauma and drama, a culture of unresolved issues, a culture where men are against women, women are against men, a culture of pain. And how do we stop that culture to restore ourselves, to start a different culture for the sake of our people and our children? Stay with us. That conversation is up next here on The Culture, right here on the Black Star Network.
Hatred on the streets, a horrific scene, a white nationalist rally that descended into deadly violence.
White people are losing their damn minds.
As an angry pro-Trump mob storms the U.S. Capitol, we've seen
We're about to see the rise of what I call white minority resistance. We have seen white folks in this country who simply cannot tolerate black folks voting.
I think what we're seeing is the inevitable result of violent denial.
This is part of American history. Every time that people of color have made progress, whether real or symbolic, there has been what Carol Anderson at Emory University calls white rage as a backlash.
This is the rise of the Proud Boys and the Boogaloo Boys. America, there's going to be more of this.
Here's all the Proud Boys, guys.
This country is getting increasingly racist in its behaviors and its attitudes because of the fear of white people.
The fear that they're taking our jobs, they're taking our resources, they're taking our women. This is white fear. When you talk about blackness and what happens in black culture, we're about covering these things that matter to us, speaking to our issues and concerns.
This is a genuine people-powered movement.
A lot of stuff that we're not getting. You get it. You spread the word.
We wish to plead our own cause. Too long have others spoken for us. We cannot tell our own story if we can't pay for it. This is about covering us. Invest in black-owned media. Your dollars matter. We don't have to keep asking them to cover our stuff. So please support us in what we do, folks. We want to hit 2,000 people, $50 this month, raise $100,000. We're behind 100,000, so we want to hit that. Y'all money makes this possible. Checks and money orders go to P.O. Box 57196, Washington, D.C. 20037-0196. The Cash App is $RM Unfiltered. PayPal is R Martin Unfiltered. Venmo is RM Unfiltered. Zelle is Roland at RolandSMartin.com.
When we invest in ourselves, we're investing in what's next for all of us. Growing, creating, making moves that move us all forward. Together, we are Black beyond measure.
Hi.
We've got to stand up. Republicans are banning abortion rights, tearing down democracy, blocking progress. But when Democrats stand together, we win. Because we voted, Democrats stood up for black lives, voting to ban police chokeholds, stood up for black women, putting one on the Supreme Court, stood up for our families, lowering cost of health care and prescriptions and capping insulin, and stood up for millions by slashing student debt. This November, let's stand up together and keep making progress.
All right, folks, welcome back to the show here on The Culture, right here on the Black Star Network. We wanted to have a final conversation, and the conversation that we just had talking about Drake and Meg Thee Stallion, and more importantly, Drake belittling the unfortunate events that affected Meg Thee Stallion leads to us to this next conversation about black men healing. How do we resolve and how do we heal from unresolved trauma and pain that we often experience? And so I'm so excited to have joining us today for this conversation, two dynamic individuals, plus our culture crew member, Nira Muhammad. But I'm going to be welcoming Tasnim Solomon, who serves as the founder and the executive director of Black Men Heal, and Zakiya Williams, who serves as the co-founder and the chief operating officer. And then let's bring Nira back into the fold with this, because we're going to have these three dynamic sisters on the show to talk about how black men can heal. Look at this dynamic panel. There we go, sisters. How y'all feeling today?
I'm feeling great. Thank you.
Thank you for your patience. Thank you for your patience. First, let me start with you, Tasnim. Tell us about the work of Black Men Heal. What are you guys focused on?
Sure. It's Tasnim, actually. But
Tasnim. Excuse me. I'm sorry.
Well, you know, my parents, they spelled it with the N-I-M. You know how we do it. So it's pronounced Tasnim. So at Black Men Heal, we're a nonprofit organization started in 2018. I'm a licensed therapist. I have been in private practice, decided to start Black Men Heal because I recognized in my private practice that there just wasn't enough black men coming into private practice. However, I will say I was getting calls from black men who would find me online because what we have found in research is a lot of people of color, Black people, we want to work with Black therapists, people who can identify with ourselves. It definitely makes sense, right? But because I didn't take insurance and my rate is high, therapy, good quality therapy is really expensive. It started to really kind of weigh on my spirit and on my soul, feeling like, I guess I made it, but have you ever really made it if your community can't have access to you? So I decided to start Black Men Heal and create almost like a campaign almost of trying to get more Black men to step into therapy. And so the idea was, you know what? Free therapy for Black men. And we went on Instagram. We started Black Men Heal from an idea, a vision. I went to therapist friends, asked them to donate. Hey, would you be willing to find an hour pro bono in your schedule a week for 8 weeks? We give 8 free sessions to friends. And that's how we got started in 2018.
That is awesome. That is awesome. And it's I think it's powerful that 2 Black women decided to start an organization to help Black men heal. And Zakia, I want you to talk a little bit about the element. I'm sure when people hear Black Men Heal, they thinking Black men are going to be the ones running and serving in those leadership roles. But then you have to just gently remind them, no, it's me.
Well, to be honest, when we first started, Taz and I we were pounding the pavement trying to get men to represent it because we didn't want the same notion going on with women telling men what to do. But that didn't happen. So we had.
And why didn't that happen? Just out of curiosity. Now you got me wondering, why didn't that happen, Zakia?
You know what? I wish I had the answers to that. We went to men and Black men in the city. We're based in Philadelphia. We went to men, knocked on doors, trying to get them to come out, and it was just like no support at first. And so I don't know. That's something that I guess we would have to ask them. And once Taz saw the need and developed the idea, we just hit the ground running to start doing the work. So once we started, but initially, Taz, I don't know if you remember when we would send out stuff, people would respond back to us like, "Oh, hey, brother, I'm interested in it," just that and the other, just because our email address just said Black Men Heal. But yeah, who's not better to start the organization? Because like I always like to say, as Black women, Taz and I, we were collateral damage of men that needed to be healed in our lives.
This is beautiful stuff here, right here. Nira, I want to bring you into the conversation because as we're talking about healing with Black men, and Tasneem, when we talk about this, there's still a lot of it seems to be a lot of fog or a lot of uncertainty as to what that actually means. So how does Black men or healing Black men, how does Black Men Heal define that? Because that could mean anything to a lot of different people.
Yeah, and that's true. I mean, healing means the very first aspect of healing is becoming aware of what is wounded, what needs to be healed. And so being able to identify and name. I talk a lot about this process of naming because we all have stuff, right? And our stuff typically just comes out in our interactions and in our behaviors and in the way in which we show up in the world. But we're not always even conscious of the fact that we may be showing up like that because of some wounds. You know what I'm saying? So I think the first process of healing is being able to self-identify, become self-aware, and recognize what is in you. Like of course, I mean, we're dorky therapists, but like the why, not so much, oh, so-and-so did this, but it's what is the function of that behavior? And when you take a deeper dive into that leads you down this beautiful exploration of a journey of healing that has many bumpy stages to it, like the up and the down. And I don't know if there's a healed. I think, we're constantly working on growing it, but Black Men Heal recognize that, I think Black women, we started to come together, we created our movements. We created our Black Girl Magic, Black Girl Brunch, everything that we love to do to support each other as sisters or Girls Night Out, where we know that that's very therapeutic for us, in addition to social, which is also healthy for helping to heal depression and anxiety, having people to process with. So we had created what I like to call safe spaces. And I feel like those safe spaces were lacking for men. And that is what Black Men Heal is. It's a space that's really about and tailoring to men, like rolling out the red carpet, like, look, y'all VIP, it's all for you and about you. We've created the space, but we're not doing the labor. you have to come in and step in and do your labor, and we're happy to host the space, if that makes sense.
Absolutely, absolutely. And this is such a powerful thing to hear the fact that y'all are taking this approach. Nira, I want to get your take on this and their view of why it's important to heal. I mean, this is huge. This is very, very important and powerful.
No, I think I can't remember the sister's name. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. Oh, Zakia. She said it best. I mean, at the end of the day, we as women are on the receiving end of that trauma. It's interesting though that you have them on here because this week, I've been wanting to have a podcast episode about trauma bonding. Because she talked about the why. Me as a writer, I wrote this whole script and my script is about relationships, but I wanted to examine the why of why people behave the way that they do in relationships. Because again, it stems from wounds, childhood, XYZ, blah, blah, blah. But I'm curious because I feel like so often, especially we as women, we do this where if a man shares some of his trauma with us, then we take that trauma and we're like, I was a safe space for him. He shared with me what happened to him as a child. And so now, when he does certain things to us, we kind of justify some of their behaviors because we're like, oh, but he's been through this and he's been through that. And I want to discuss how do we not get stuck in that? Because I think it's important to come into relationships with empathy, but how do we not get stuck in that empathy or in that place of that trauma bonding?
That's a great question.
That makes any sense.
I was actually going to talk, Zakia, about the fact that we did recognize when building and developing Black Men Hill that a platform like that, when you're offering free therapy to Black men, there was a lot of discussions and a lot of thought process that went into it. And one of them was, we're going to get slammed with a lot of women who are like, choose my brother, choose my husband, choose my cousin, right? We're going to get bum rushed by women. So one of our rules with Black Men Hill is that we don't take nominations. We don't take referrals. We don't, as far as the men who are selected for the therapy, there's a rule that they must be applying for themselves. And so we'll still try it. Zakia has some hilarious stories of how they try it. But I think just creating that rule of, yes, it still happens. You get the grandmother, the wife, the girlfriend who tries to apply on behalf of somebody, but they don't actually get through because it's a rule that only Black Men Hill is for the men who are ready to take accountability for themselves. They must apply for themselves, and they must be the ones to see out the site. They can't bring their partners into the sessions. It can't be about relationships. It's just about them.
And Zakia, I'm wondering, I'm a huge advocate of therapy. I have a therapist. And so I wonder, what's been the feedback that you sisters have received as a result of that? Because is there still a stigma that Black men don't want to go seek therapy to get the necessary help that they need?
So people say that there is, but I'm just being in my little bubble. I don't see that. As a matter of fact, as soon as we rolled out, free therapy for Black men, we got flooded with men. We got flooded with so many men that we didn't have enough Black therapists to keep up with the demand. Even now, we get 100 applications a week at one time, because we're constantly hiring therapists, it's lessening our wait list. But at one time it was like 1,000 men on the waiting list. In addition to that, because I'm a therapist, I just became a therapist myself. When the guys come through, they stay. They want to stay with us. We have a unique matching process where it's not just like, oh, you Black and you Black. We try to match up. We are very intentional about taking the variables that's in the men and that's in the therapist. So it's almost like a match.com type of thing. I love it. Where they on, and after the 8 sessions, they continue on with their therapist. I think it's like 75% of them that continue on. And so much so that most of the men that going through the sessions, like we have 2 brothers on our team right now, they came through as clients. So once they come through their sessions, they're so appreciative and I'm happy about the results of what their pair up was, that they're like clamoring to do stuff for Black Men Hill, like anything you want. One of the guys who built our website was once a client that came through Black Men Hill. So they are just, I've been seeing my client now after the 8 free session probably about 2 years now. They always want to continue on, and they just like that comfort, even though we're not men. Being able to share in a Black experience, it's just something that we first of all we value and we look forward to. Like, it was a time, because we're scaling up and our organization is growing. Now I'm not a part of the pairing system, but it was one time when we first started the organization, we would sit at Taz's house on Tuesday nights, and she would feed us. That was the only money we had. We didn't have any money. And we would sit there and pour over those applications. And it was like, if a brother, we recognized one of our kings had issues with intimacy, or he needed a softer, a therapist, we would pair them with a therapist that has like a nurturing or more mothering nature. So we put a lot into those matches so that they can continue on, and they're happy with them. We even have our therapists coming to us like, oh my gosh, how did you know? Like that person was, perfect for me. So we take pride in our matching system.
So getting back to what Nero was talking about with that level of trauma bonding, and I'm seeing that a lot now, especially from younger Black men. Like, what are something, and because like we were just talking in the last segment, you sister saw that, when you take your trauma and then you put it out there and you re-traumatize someone else, how do we stop that vicious cycle from happening?
I think a part of how we stop it is by, we're not always aware, going back to that point, like, so I think the stigma is starting to kind of be removed, to go back to answer that question, because you can't turn on anything right now. We're in the age and the stage of mental health. Right now, mental health is the cool thing. I wish it would have been cooler 20, 30, 40 years ago in our parents' generations, et cetera. Mm-hmm. But because, trauma passes down generationally. Yep, so we pass it down, right? And the only way to stop the intergenerational passing is through healing, is through doing the work to heal the lens of trauma, because trauma actually changes the brain. It changes the way in which we see things and the way in which we see and respond to the world. And so the only way you could shift that is by being able to notice that you're specifically looking at something a certain way, right? Because if you're looking at a wall and it just look white, you don't know it's white. You know what I mean? Like, you're just assuming it is what it is until you start to really understand, oh, wait, why am I seeing it that way? Or what is this connected to in the way I'm showing up? And I think that's what like processes like therapy. And I want to stress that therapy is not the only way that people can start to become more self-aware about their spaces. We have other programs too. We have a weekly virtual safe space for men every Sunday night at 7 called King's Corner. And we have men from all over the country and beyond, about 40 brothers a week, tune into King's Corner, and they're on there with other men, just supporting other men, ages 18 to 80. It's a beautiful thing. Never seen anything like it, but the way in which they show up and support each other for the topics, and the men have a vulnerable space. And sometimes like the men like show these really nonverbal, powerful ways of supporting one another. Like if somebody shares something vulnerable, like one time they would salute. Like you would see like other ways that men show, like women might always go like, we're like, oh, but men have other ways. They were just really powerful ways of holding space, what I like to call holding space for other men. And so there's all types of ways, and just to educate yourself and to watch shows like this. We do every time when you do something in the media, there's somebody who's listening where something resonates for them. Something, hey, that person just described something that I'm experiencing, but I wasn't able to name it. That it starts with something as simple as that.
Absolutely. Nero, when I hear this conversation, I'm thinking about a number of brothers. I'm thinking about myself. I'm thinking about a lot of, because I just feel like, and you and I have talked about these things, but I just feel like we're just holding ourselves back and even possibly, getting in our own way. And the crazy part about all of this, sisters, and Nero, I want to get your take on it first, is that we all recognize that we have trauma. We all recognize that we have problems, but then we don't all realize that or have the strength to move forward to finding some resolution. And that's the part. Like, to me, part of being a Black man is understanding your strengths and your weaknesses. And then when you look and see your weaknesses, that you start to work on your weaknesses, that you put yourself in a better position to not fall victim to your weaknesses. But it doesn't seem like that is always the case for a lot of brothers. Nero, what's your take?
I mean, I think it goes back to what the Queen said, that like being accountable, actually saying, being self-aware that, you know what, maybe this is me. Maybe I am the one that, has a problem. Maybe because of whatever happened to me in 12th grade, I haven't been able to let this go. Or, it's probably even something deeper than that. Maybe you saw something happening with your parents. Or I think that trauma has a way of like attaching itself to us, and we forget that who we are without it. It's like, if I don't have this trauma attached to me, who am I? Does my story change? Do I change? And I think you do change. And like she said, trauma has so many different effects on the body that, I mean, even when I think about like my mother, who, bless her soul, she just had brain surgery, and just thinking of all the stress that I've seen my mother go through over the years, and now seeing her only in her 50s, her mid 50s at that, going through so much with her brain. And I'm just thinking about all the years of stress and all that's weighed and done to her body, and the headaches and migraines that she used to always get when she'd be stressed about bills, or, you know what I mean? Just so many different things. And so I think we have to recognize that stress really does so much more to us than just cause depression. It starts to affect our entire body.
Right.
It's a breakdown. But I just want to say real quickly, because I know we're going to be hopping off soon, but I just think that you bringing these sisters on at this moment, it speaks so much truth to power based on the other conversation that we just had. Because as we can see here, Black women are there for Black men. At the very foundation, at the root of our problems, Black women are there. Black women want to see Black men change. And and this is to the online culture crew members who are watching. If you came into this conversation thinking that Black women do not care about Black men, these two women should have changed your mind, because this woman walked away from all I can only imagine how much money she was making as a therapist, but she chose to go in a different direction because she saw a need for our community, for Black men. If that's not love, I don't know what is.
That's an excellent point. Excellent point. Excellent point. Let me just take a couple of comments as we wrap up this conversation, sisters, and I'm forever grateful for your time. You don't like my music. You say men have a hard time asking for help because we are told to be independent from the cradle. Yep. And we have a hard time not just asking for help, but realizing that we need help.
And, it's funny you say that, because that's what I was going to say. You said something earlier saying, we all know we have trauma. That's the issue. A lot of, we realize a lot of men don't know that they have trauma. They're talking about things.
I'm glad you corrected me on that one, sis. Come on.
They talk about things as if they're normal. Taz has an example of one time in a session, a guy talked, they've been seeing each other for a while, and then he's like, oh yeah, because when I got shot. And she's like, well, wait, what is that? So sometimes they don't even recognize that they have trauma. And I'm not just going to say we don't either. You know what I'm saying? And in the Black community, because we've been re-traumatized over and over and over again, sometimes it's just hard for us to identify which trauma we want to, identify with. So that's why the naming of it is really important. And what we do at Black Men Heal is get men to be able to name it. Sometimes they do. They're feeling something, but they don't know what they're feeling. So they do destructive behaviors, drinking, gambling, hormone, all that kind of stuff. But when they come into the room, because we pair them with therapists that help them name it, then they can start the acknowledgement, as Queen, she said, once you acknowledge something, then you will want to change it. But sometimes they don't even know what it is. So when they step into a room with a therapist, we get them to be able to name it.
Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh. Zakia, you dropped the word. You and Taz, y'all are dropping some words today. I'm telling you, it's not, look, the first thing as I'm listening to you, you're saying it's not that we don't know we have trauma. We don't know which trauma we want to focus on. Like, we bring a lot of trauma to the table.
And I think that life, like, it's just what's happened to me. It's just my story. And because we as Black people, we have so much pain and shit that happens to us, right? And we're not really even able to differentiate it as being traumatic. It's not labeled as that. It's just like, oh yeah, I've been shot. My homie's been shot. That client she was talking about, he felt like that wasn't a trauma because he survived it. So he wouldn't have thought of being a shot. And he's like, well, no, it's traumatic when dudes die, right? like he didn't know the difference. And so teaching people like, no, all of the horrible things that happen to us that disrupt the threat center of our brain, all the times when we feel or have experienced not being safe are traumatic for us.
Wow. So look, sisters, I want to make sure that we put out your contact information. I can talk about talk about this all day, but I want to just be mindful of the time. But what's the best way that people can get in touch with the work that Black Men Heal is doing? It says the website, Facebook, Instagram. You tell us.
Well, yeah, all the social media outlets, we're at Black Men Heal on all the social media outlets. And so you can stay connected with us that way, or go to our website, which is blackmenheal.org. You can sign up for our free services. We service 9 states for the individual therapy, but we service every state for the free groups. All of our services are free. Can't stress that enough. So Kings, there is no excuses of why you don't have a space to step into. We are inviting you with the red carpet into the space that we've created for you.
That is awesome. That is awesome. Nira, you got any final thoughts on this? Because this is I'm excited.
No, I just think that I loved how seamlessly this flowed, because remember, that wasn't supposed to be our conversation prior to them coming on, but it just showed. I mean, we were talking about Drake, y'all, and how unhealed that man is, and we don't know what he needs to heal from, but this was just so seamless. And I think these queens really just proved the whole point of what I was saying earlier, that Black women have always been and will always ride for our kings. We will. And that's not to say that there's not a disconnect. There is a need for us to pull together more and to try to understand each other more. But I don't want to hear Black men saying that Black women don't love them. We've always, and will forever love y'all. So that's my last word for y'all.
And y'all will love us sometimes to your own detriment.
I hope all Black kings have a good weekend. I hope y'all have a really good weekend. You know?
And well, look, Tasneem and Zakia, I truly thank you for being on to the show, coming on to the show. I had to rock my I Call Her Queen, because it's queens like y'all, and that's courtesy of Nira right here. That's her brand, I Call Her Queen. I had to rock that. So it's queens like y'all that make it all worthwhile and makes the difference. But I'm truly thankful for having you on. Y'all responded to me. Big shout out to the sister who actually connected me to y'all. One of our online culture crew members, her name is, I want to make sure I'm saying this, McCole. I hope I'm not messing it up. But McCole, I appreciate you, because she was shouting y'all out because we were talking about the death of Takeoff from the Migos. And she was like, there are organizations that are helping Black men heal from violence, like Black Men Heal. And I said, all right, fine, let me reach out. So I'm so grateful. That just happened over a day and a half ago, and now you're on the show, and y'all blessed us at the end of the week. We got a dynamic Nira Muhammad there, who is always advocating for strong mental health and wellness. So this just gives me so much hope, and it just helps. Closes out the week perfectly. So I want to say thank you to all of you sisters for being on the show today. Again, the website or the best way to get in touch is, what's the site that we should go to?
blackmenheal.org. All the information is right on the website. And this is so fitting. Next week is our 2nd annual fundraising gala. We're always raising funds for the free therapy for men. And our theme this year is Honor Thy Queen. So it feels very fitting.
Yes.
Well, let me know.
Tickets still on sale. Hold up. I got a cheap plug. Tickets are still on sale at the New Jersey State Aquarium. If you in the DMV area, come, or if you want to donate a ticket for one of our men who may not be able to afford to come, we would also love to have them in. So it's all types of ways you can get involved in a mission like this.
All right, look, I'm about to follow y'all on y'all social media. Okay. And then let's continue to read. And then, like I say, I would love to, if you want to come back on, we can make a place for you to come back, so sisters to come back on, give us that information next week. Because once we get past this election, we're gonna need some healing.
You ain't never lied about that.
Thank you so much, Tasneem, and Zakia. Thank you so much for coming on.
Okay, thank you.
Absolutely. All right. And Nira, real quick, we thank you so much for your time. Thank you for always bringing the fire, bringing the heat, and giving us a lot to talk about. I know that season 3 is streaming right now. Make sure y'all check out Queen Talks with Nira. podcast is streaming right now where all podcasts can be heard. Season 3 is definitely streaming. I know you got some fire for us dropping this weekend. And why are you dancing? I don't know. But
I've been dancing a lot lately. It's healing. It's therapeutic.
It's all good. It's all good. So I appreciate you. And make sure that folks want to connect with you, how they want to build with you.
Yeah. Follow Queen Talks with Nira on Instagram right now. Like I'm expecting like at least like 20 more follows today. So I have my smartphone. I know I'm a loser because I got a Samsung. Don't judge me. But yes, follow me, Queen Talks with Nira. And you can also follow me if you want some ratchet Nira. You can follow me at Nira_Muhammad, Nira_Muhammad, whichever you like, you know.
That is Nira Muhammad checking in. Queens Talk with Nira host podcast. Queen Talks with Nira, a podcast host. She's a screenwriter. She's also doing some great things. And so there it is. Boom. There we go. Season 3 up in the rocking and rolling. Make sure y'all check that out. A lot of good stuff, man. Nira brings the fire. Y'all like what she had to say. Y'all think she can bring fire now? Wait till y'all listen to her podcast. Absolutely dope. So big shout out to Nira. And I thank you again for being so good for the culture.
Thanks, baby daddy.
Absolutely. All right, folks, that's going to do it for me. I thank each and every one of you for being a part of the conversation. Man, oh man, big shout out to Black Men Hill. I just love that. I just love it. I appreciate y'all so much. Make sure this weekend, get your mind right, get your family, your vote plan together, because Monday or come Tuesday, a lot is going to be happening. But I can't stress this enough. Here on Black Star Network, we're going to have round-the-clock coverage, election coverage on Tuesday night, kicking off at as early as 7 o'clock. So you don't want to miss one word, one moment of what we bring in. Look, yours truly, God willing, will be able to join in as I'm joining the fantastic all-star panel, of course, moderated by the great brother Roland Martin. That's going to be on Tuesday, so you don't want to miss that. On Monday and Tuesday, of course, here on The Culture, we're continuing the conversations about the midterm election and so much more. But I hope and pray that y'all have a great weekend. Let's get through this weekend with the right mind, heart, and spirit, and do something for yourself. Go out. You don't have to spend a lot of money or spend any money, but get in touch with yourself this weekend and make sure that you recommit yourself to yourself, to your family, and your community. All right, stay tuned. Up next is RMU Eastern 6 o'clock Eastern Standard Time. Make sure y'all follow me on my social media at The Real Farajii on Instagram and Farajii on Twitter. I love to build with y'all. Y'all are my community, y'all the family. So make sure y'all follow me. And as always, never be afraid to challenge what's wrong. Stand for what's right while being yourself in the process. God willing, we'll talk on Monday for another exciting edition of The Culture right here on the Black Star Network. Big shout out to the Queens. There we go. Talk to you soon. Peace.